Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy, and this is my channel Bandy's Books, and it is Sunday at 5:30 p.m. my time. I usually try to do a live weekly update around 5 p.m. Today I had some stuff going on, so I had to start a little bit later. So here I am at 5:30. I'm trying to be really consistent with making sure I get these live streams up. So this has been a pretty solid week. I am like halfway through Oz's trip. So if you follow my channel, you'll know that my partner Oz is from Cuba, but he grew up in Angola. His family still lives in Angola, Africa. And so it's been like 10 years since Oz has got a chance to go home to Angola. Um, he has seen his parents like within the 10 years they've come out here and visited, but his brother and like his nieces and nephews, he hasn't had a chance to see them in like 9 or 10 years. And so he finally got to go home on a trip to Angola, and he's there for 3 weeks. So we're in the end of the second week right now, so I have 1 week left. So I've been trying to use my time to take care of a lot more reading, a lot more videos, and then also doing like some projects around the house, a little bit of self-care. So that's what I've been up to this week. I have purchased a couple things for the house to like make certain areas nicer. We've done some organizing and some heavy duty cleaning. Been really focused on getting Luna like a lot of extra exercise. We've been going for some really good long walks, which is also good for me because extra exercise never hurts. And today I am having a self-care Sunday. So I have had a lot of stuff going on. I've been a little stressed out lately. So I decided that I needed a self-care day. So I slept in. I slept like 10 hours last night, which was amazing. That's the first time I've been able to do that in such a long time. And I got up. I took Luna with me. We went to our local coffee shop and had breakfast. I had this like really nice bacon and chicken scramble and salted caramel pretzel mocha, which is amazing. It sounds like a lot, but it was really, really good. And then me and Luna went for this walk, like all through this wash that runs in the southern part of Las Vegas. So we had a nice, really nice walk. And then I came home. I went out and got a pedicure, which is like the first time I've had a pedicure in so long. I've actually had to wait because a couple of my toenails fell off from being on my feet so much at work. So they finally grew out enough to do that. TMI, I'm sure. But so I got pedicure, and then I came home, and I am part of a book club for someone's Patreon, and I really enjoy like the book club chats, and I've had to miss the last couple because they were like at times when I couldn't join. So I was really excited to be able to join that. I had a great book club chat, and then I went and had a 2-hour deep tissue massage. So I'm just coming home. So if you notice there's like a red circle on my forehead, that's literally from having my face planted in the massage like face cup thing. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. Nice and relaxed. Really helped. I deal with chronic pain and like a lot of issues. And so it helped take some tension out. So self-care Sunday, I recommend it for everybody. Obviously you don't have to do self-care the way that I do it. I don't usually do it on this grand of a scale. It's been such a long time since I've got to treat myself to something like that. So I felt like, it was really well needed. So yeah. And then tomorrow I'm actually getting my hair done too. As you can see, like my hair has grown out quite a bit. Like you can see my white streaks are coming in on the sides. So gonna go get that done tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. I've got some big changes coming with that. So that'll be exciting. So yeah, all about the self-care this week, all about getting the house in order, putting my life into a place where I'm feeling good. I have a couple things that have been causing me some pretty severe anxiety that will hopefully resolve this week. Or at least if not resolve, I'll be in a better place with them with some health issues. So yeah, just trying to do the best I can with that. So I hope that everyone else has had a restful Sunday as well. For the upcoming week, I don't have anything too crazy. It should be a pretty chill week. Work is looking like it's going to be pretty consistent. But I have a good amount of staff next week. Like everything looks good. So I'm hoping that next week will be as productive a reading week as the last 2 weeks have been. March has been great for reading so far since Oz has been gone. It's freed up a ton of time for me to read. So channel goals for the week. I got up most of the videos I wanted to get up for last week. I'm hoping to get up my aardvark prediction video for Monday. And then I have 2 books that I've finished for the Women's Prize that I will be reviewing this week. I finished Western Lane by Chetna Maru, and I am almost finished with Soldier Sailor by Claire Kilroy. So I should be popping up reviews of both of those this week. I'm really enjoying the Women's Prize reading so far. I'm surprised. I was a little nervous about some of the books just because They're authors I'm not familiar with. I feel like literary fiction is like a genre I'm still learning about. But so far, so good. So let's talk about what I have read this week, and then I'll tell you what I'm hoping to read next week. So um, last week, I think I might have mentioned this, but I finished The Furrows by Namwali Sarpel. This was on Sunday that I finished it, so I can't quite remember off the top of my head if I finished this before or after the live stream. This was an interesting book. It's literary fiction. It's told in two parts. The first part follows a sister. So basically, the whole story centers around this little boy in this family dying. He gets swept out to sea and drowns, and the sister was the only person that was with him when it happens. They're both very young. And so the first half of the book is the sister dealing with the grief and the feelings of responsibility and the isolation from the family and the fallout from her brother's death. And then the second half of the book is told from the perspective of a guy that she's dating that sort of relates to her brother in kind of an unusual way. This book is very stylistic, and it's definitely not going to be for everyone. I think that there were parts of this that I liked. I really appreciated the exploration of grief and guilt and stuff like that. But stylistically, it's a little weird. It feels like two disparate books kind of jammed together. This was my first time reading Serpell, and I have her other book, The Old Drift, on my TBR. I'm hoping to read that this month, or at least this year sometime. So this was interesting reading this first because everybody seems to really love The Old Drift, but I feel like a lot of people kind of have mixed feelings about this. And I personally have some mixed feelings about it. So we'll see. Then I read two books this week for the BookTube Prize. So I'm finished with my BookTube Prize reading. That's very exciting. I can't talk about those books yet, but both of them were very interesting and enjoyable. I'm reading the nonfiction genre, and I was really impressed with this round. All 6 books that I had for my nonfiction round were like fascinating. I lucked out, and every single subject that I was given was like one that I was deeply interested in. Then I read my very first book for the Women's Prize. I'm trying to read the entire long list. And so I read Hangman by Maya Binyam. This is about a man returning to sub-Saharan Africa after 26 years living in the United States. I put a full-scale review up on my channel, so if you want to hear about this in detail, you can go check that out. But basically, this is a very experimental literary type book. It's one that's not an easy read at all. It, I think, is kind of an alienating, isolating feeling reading this book. The writing structure, the prose, it's all very stark and very hard to digest. But I found it to be a really interesting book. I think if you persevere through it, there's definitely messaging that was important. But yeah, I could see it definitely not being the type of book that a lot of people will appreciate. I also read I Rigoberta Menchú by Rigoberta Menchú. So this is a memoir. So Rigoberta Menchú was an indigenous woman, a Mayan indigenous woman from Guatemala, or she is, not was. So she's from Guatemala. During, I want to say, the 80s and 90s, there was a genocide in Guatemala, and she escaped Guatemala and went to Mexico and learned Spanish and then translated her memoir so that she could get the news out about the bad treatment of the Mayan indigenous people in Guatemala. This book is a bit controversial. She won the Nobel Peace Prize for her efforts at bringing attention to the genocide of indigenous people in Guatemala. And this book was really, really revered and respected. But then a cultural anthropologist, I think, from Harvard went back to Guatemala and researched a bunch of her claims. And while the general overarching theme of her book is still valid, and there was absolutely these horrific things that happened, some of the specific claims of things that she said happened to her family didn't happen exactly the way that she told the story. So in one part of the story, she says that her brother is tortured to death, but in reality, he was shot and then thrown into a well. So he still died in a horrific way and was murdered, and it was tragic. It just wasn't quite as extreme as she portrayed it in the book. So there's a lot of things that were called into question. She also said that she didn't learn Spanish as a child, that she only knew a few words, and that she had to learn it in Mexico as an adult to tell the story. But it turned out that she actually did end up going to school for a while and learning at least some Spanish as a child. I don't personally take too many issues with the exaggerations in the story. What I think happened is that she took a lot of other people's stories and kind of condensed them into one narrative to bring attention to the horrors. Not necessarily that she was like intentionally like, oh, let me lie about a bunch of stuff. And like, as for speaking a language, like she had a few years of education when she was a kid in this particular language and then didn't speak it for years. So it's really, really easy to lose your linguistic ability if you don't use a language. So she may have had to relearn it. Ultimately, the result is the same. She wrote a book about the Guatemalan genocide, and it brought a bunch of international attention to what was going on there. And it saved likely a lot of people's lives. So I think the book still has value. And I think the things that she wrote about are still legitimate issues. So that was a really interesting book. It's brutal and kind of depressing, but it was very interesting. And then I read the book Small Angels by Lauren Owen. I own a copy of it, but I didn't want to try to dig it off of my bookshelf. I packed it away while I was reorganizing books the other day. That's a horror book. I got it from Book of the Month a couple months back, a couple years back, and I haven't read it. So I felt like it was finally the time. It was okay. It was enjoyable enough. Nothing like spectacular, nothing like mind blowing or world changing. But if you like a simple horror with a creepy woods and a kind of a creepy town, then it's a fun read. I see people popping in, so feel free to say hi in the chat if you're just popping in. Hope you guys are all having a good weekend. I also read Piglet by Lottie Hazel. I actually just finished that yesterday. That was a very interesting story for me. I don't know how I feel about it. So I really enjoyed the main character being like a cookbook editor, and I loved the inclusion of food and food description and the way that she's like experimenting with recipes and how different like parts of or different types of food are so like integral to the storyline. But I don't know if I loved the overall story. This is basically about a woman dealing with the fallout of an affair. She's just about to get married, and she finds out her partner had been cheating on her, and this is how she deals with that. And I don't know if I loved all that. Hey, William, how's it going? Hope you're having a good Sunday or Monday if you're in a different time zone. Reading anything exciting lately? So if you've been thinking about reading Piglet, because I know this is a new release, just be warned going into it. It's a pretty emotional book, and there are a lot of like very triggering topics being discussed in that book, especially if you have issues around body image, if you've suffered from like anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, things like that, then be warned that story could be potentially very triggering for you. Trish says it sounds like a hard story to read, Piglet. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't read it from the perspective of somebody that has had a lot of body image issues, but immediately upon reading it, that was like what I noticed is I was like, this could be a really, really difficult read. I mean, it was a difficult read for me. And I feel like if somebody was suffering from any of those type of issues, it could be really, really difficult for them. But even like the emotional impact of the story is difficult. Like if you've ever been cheated on, it's not a really pleasant story to read. Had a major relationship dissolve, it's pretty difficult. There's just a lot of stuff in this book that I could see being hard for certain people. And then what else did I get to? So I finished Western Lane by Chetna Maru. This is one of the women's prize books that I was trying to get through. I'm trying to get through the whole long list. I'm not going to go into great detail on this because I will be posting a full-scale review next week, but I enjoyed it more than I thought it would. This is a very short book, and it's about a young girl dealing with the loss of her mother and like playing squash, competitive squash. So I knew nothing about squash. I've heard of it, but I didn't even know what it was like in terms of like, I couldn't identify, do you play with a racket? Do you play with a ball, hoops, what? And so I was a little nervous. I've heard kind of mixed reviews about it, but it was actually more pleasant than I expected. It was cool being in the head of a young girl and kind of experiencing life through her eyes. I am about halfway through The Bullet Swallower by Elizabeth Gonzalez James. This is really good so far. I'm liking it. There's two storylines. I think I like the storyline in the past better than I like the storyline in the present, but or not necessarily the present, but like the more modern storyline. But I think both are pretty good so far. I'm not quite sure where this is going to go all the way yet, but I'm liking it. I'm, to be determined on the final outcome, but good so far. Then let's see, what else do we need to talk about? So, as I mentioned, I'm also almost finished with Soldier Sailor by Claire Kilroy. This is one of the other books that is on the Women's Prize long list. This is interesting for me because it doesn't even release in the United States until June. I had to buy an ARC copy of it, which I do not typically purchase ARCs. They're not for sale usually. And I wouldn't have in any other situation. It's just I'm trying to read the entire long list. And so this was the only way that I could do so. I was really nervous about this book, not going to lie. This is all about a woman dealing with like postpartum issues. So she's had a baby and her marriage is very strained by the birth of this child. She is like feeling very isolated and detached from her husband. He's working longer nights. He's not involved in their life. Every time that she reaches out to him for support or help, he has an excuse why he can't help with the baby, why he can't help her. And it really is, it's stream of consciousness. So stream of consciousness is always difficult for me. This topic is a difficult one for me. I'm not a mom. I will never be a mom. So I have a hard time sometimes relating to books that are focused on like the role of being a mother. So I was skeptical getting into this one, but the writing in this is really beautiful. And I definitely think it provokes empathy. I will say I have a bone to pick with this quote on the cover. It says, "Every woman on earth will identify with this book. Every man will learn something urgent to his betterment." So I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, the part about men learning, certainly I think men could learn from this book what it's like to deal with postpartum depression and postpartum issues. But I don't know that every single woman on earth will relate to this. But I do think it's a meaningful read. And I do think that women who have had children, especially women that have dealt with complex postpartum issues, might really like resonate with this book. But it is really lovely writing. And then I'm excited because there's 4 books that I couldn't get access to like through my public library for the Women's Prize long list. So I had to order 4 books. And so Soldier Sailor was the first one. And then A Trace of Sun by Pam Williams came in yesterday. This is beautiful. I had to ship it from the UK because it's not easily available here in the United States. So I've got 2 of the 4 books. The other 2 should be showing up towards the end of March. And then what else did I start? I went through something on my NetGalley. I've just got to pull that up really quick to remind myself. My brain's a little fuzzy. There's a lot going on right now. So I got through Piglet. That was on my NetGalley. I think that's everything. Yep. So that's everything for the week that I read. So pretty good reading week. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I didn't have anything that I really disliked. I would say that probably The Furrows by Namwali Sarpel last Sunday was the one that was like my least favorite. And it wasn't bad. It just was that experimental structure. And I didn't love like the second part of the book as much as the first. It wasn't bad, just very experimental. And I find that could be really hit and miss. So that is what I have read so far this week. So going into next week, I have a buddy read with Jamie Kate. We're buddy reading The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell, I think his name is. And it's a book that's been sitting on both of our shelves for a really, really long time. And we keep like passing up for no reason. So we decided we were going to buddy read it together because if she has to read it, then I have to read it. Accountability, it helps you get things off of your TBR. So she started that, I want to say yesterday. And I'm hoping to start that maybe Monday or Tuesday. I'm looking forward to getting into it finally. And then I need to catch up on a couple of the things on my NetGalley shelf. So one of the books that I am really looking forward to reading is The Berlin Letters by Catherine Ray. She wrote A Shadow in Moscow. That was one of my top 23 books of 2023. And she writes fantastic historical fiction. It's really like centered around the Cold War and Russia. And so I'm really looking forward to getting into that. I got an audio ARC of it. And then I got a book called Thunder Song, and that is by Sasha LaPointe. She is an Indigenous woman from the Pacific Northwest, and this is a collection of stories, I believe, about her culture and like her life and things. And so I'm really interested in that one. I have an audio ARC of that as well. And then I'm hoping this week to get to 1 or 2 of my middle grade books. I actually did start one of them called Starfish, and I've only read like maybe the first 20 pages of it or so, but I'm enjoying the writing so far. It's very emotional. It's a little bit darker and deeper than I was expecting. It's about a young girl whose mother is a narcissist and she gets rejected from art school. She's dealing with all this really complex stuff. It's very interesting because, again, it's a middle grade book. And so I'm constantly surprised at how much deeper these middle grade books are than I imagine them to be. I think it's like definitely a blind spot for me. I imagine middle grade books as being very like emotionally immature and thematically weak. And realistically, like every single middle grade book that I've read, because I've done middle grade March like 3 years in a row, um, I feel like all the middle grade books are a lot more complex than I imagined. Oh, there's Oz from Angola. Hi, babe. Love you and miss you a lot. So they are 8 hours ahead. It's 6 o'clock here. So I want to say it's 2 o'clock. Yeah, almost 2 o'clock in the morning over there. Thanks for coming and saying hi. That's sweet. So, yeah, this has been really interesting. One of the things that I was going to note too is Hangman, the book that I read, the first book that I read for the Women's Prize. The reason that I chose to read that one first is because it mirrors Oz's situation so much, because the character in the book is going home to sub-Saharan Africa for the first time in 26 years. And Oz only got to go home right now for the first time in like 9-10 years. And so it's like kind of an interesting parallel. So I thought I wanted to read Hangman while that was like an emotionally relevant topic in our household. Always mi amor. Oh, thank you. So I think that's like all of the channel updates, all of the things that I've read, all of the things that I'm planning to read this week for videos. So my goal is to get up my Aardvark predictions tomorrow, and then a review of Soldier Sailor, which I'm reading for the Women's Prize, and then also a review of Western Lane by Chetna Maru for the Women's Prize. So that'll put me at 3 books out of 16. So I think that's a pretty good pace. If I finish 3 books a week, I should finish the whole long list before they announce the short list. And maybe if I'm feeling up to it, I'll try to do a prediction video. I also would like to get up my shout out video for March. I've been doing 24 booktubers you should follow in 2024. I've been doing 1 video a month. I'm mostly focusing on new booktubers, but I also will shout out like 4 old favorites as well. Because I don't want like small channels that I've been following for a long time to not get any attention. But it's been great. I'm really enjoying doing that video. It's a lot of work, honestly, but it's a lot of fun too, because I'm learning about so many new channels. I'm meeting so many cool people. And I feel like it's been like a really good bonding video. Like I get a lot of support on it. I'm getting a lot of comments and people are just like, hey, this is great. And it's introducing me to new people as well. Like I get people commenting that have never commented on my videos before. And they're like, oh, I've been looking for this type of thing where, excuse me, where channels are being shouted out. And, so yeah, I'm really enjoying that process. So for me, it's like a priority to get that one out every single month. So I'm going to try to get it up this month. If not, I want to at least get it like written and kind of get an idea of who I'm going to be shouting out. And then maybe it'll follow the next month if I can't get it up. And I'm not sure what else. I may do like a reading vlog. So usually have Sunday, Monday off. This week I have a pretty big medical appointment on Tuesday. So I had to switch my Monday and my Tuesday around. So I'm going to have most of the day off on Tuesday. So I'm thinking that I might actually do like a 24-hour reading vlog, just because this was self-care Sunday. Like I said, I spent all day today taking care of myself. Tomorrow I have a hair appointment. And then, like I said, Tuesday I have this kind of intense medical appointment. I'm going to be receiving some significant health news. And so I'm thinking that maybe doing like a 24-hour reading vlog would be fun. After I get home from my hair appointment on Tuesday night or on Monday night, I can start then and just like read all the way through Tuesday, see how many books I can get through. If I just kind of stay home and rest and read. Honestly, I've been feeling run down anyways. Been really fatigued and dealing with a lot of chronic pain and stuff. So probably having a day where I just don't do too much would be really good. Yeah, I'm like a little ground down. With Oz being gone, I've been walking Luna 3 times a day, and she's like 3.5 years old, and we live in an apartment, so she requires like 3 walks a day. So I've been walking probably an extra 5 to 6 miles per day, and I already am on my feet all day for work because I work in a kitchen. So I'm just a little rundown. So I think a nice, easy reading vlog would be a fun video, and I don't think I've ever really done anything like that. It's not going to be the crazy kind where I like stay up till 2 a.m. reading or anything. I'm just gonna read within my normal hours, but follow for 24 hours. Trish said, wow, 24-hour reading vlog sounds cool. I hope your med appointment goes well. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think a 24-hour reading vlog sounds cool too. I really enjoy watching other people's. It's kind of cool just to see like what people do on lazy days or even not lazy days. Just it's there's something like oddly fun about seeing people's normal lives, if that makes sense. William said, health news. Yeah, I had a recent health scare myself. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that you're doing better and that like your issues have been resolved. In my case, I don't think this is a scare. I deal with like a long-term chronic health issue, but it's also caused like more issues. And so I'm dealing with the original issue. So I already know like what the status of that is. And then I'm getting news on the secondary issue to see like what the trajectory is from there. So it's nothing like life-threatening or anything like that, but it is unfortunately like pretty impactful, and it has caused a pretty big amount of stress. I try to be pretty honest with my like health issues and like my mental health and all that stuff too, just because I know that it can be a very isolating experience for people when they're going through these types of things. So while I don't want my whole channel to be obviously about health issues and stuff like that, I do try to be open with what I'm going through, because if anyone else is going through it, I don't want them to think that they're alone and that, there's nobody else going through it with them. So yeah, anyways, that's enough of that. I don't want to get like on a whole roll here, but it'll be okay. It's just one of those things. I got to go through the steps. And in Self-Care Sunday, the last thing I was going to show, I got something that looks delightful. I don't usually show food, but this I picked up this morning at my local coffee shop. I went in for like a breakfast, me and Luna, and I brought my book and got my coffee and enjoyed. So they make adult Pop-Tarts at my local coffee shop that I go to. And as you can see, this thing is massive. This is a lemon meringue Pop-Tart, and that sounds so amazing. I really love citrus flavors, like in my sweets. Like I'll take citrus over chocolate any day. So it's like stuffed with lemon curd and then topped with meringue. And so I got one this morning and I was like, this will be my post-dinner treat tonight. So for the rest of my evening, I am going to take Luna out for a walk. There's this area down south of me that has like a really nice park and nice community. So we're going to go for a nice easy walk over there. I'm going to come home, have dinner, enjoy my Pop-Tart, maybe catch up on some reading tonight and try to get to bed nice and early. So I'm really well rested for tomorrow and the week to come. So I think that is everything in terms of updates. We've gone over Self-Care Sunday. We've gone over, my week, updates for the channel, what I read this week, what I'm hoping to read next week. And then next week, I'm excited. My best friend is flying out from San Diego for the weekend. So she'll be here Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we get to have like a little girls' weekend. And I don't know what we're going to do yet. It's going to depend on how I'm feeling, what the trajectory of this medical appointment is. But either way, it'll be really nice to have her here. And yeah, hopefully another productive week of reading and videos and all that kind of fun stuff. So I think I'll end this video here. I hope that you guys are all having a good Sunday evening. And thank you for coming by to say hello, watch the video for a few minutes. I hope that you have a really productive weekend, or a productive week rather, whether it's Sunday or Monday for you, depending on your time zone. I hope that, you focus on some self-care this week. I think that, having focused on self-care myself this weekend, I recognize like how little we do self-care for ourselves. So I would encourage you to do something for yourself this week, whether it's taking some time to read, taking some time to decompress. And I hope that you have good books and it's a restful but productive week. So thank you guys all for popping in. I hope everyone's doing well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.